Friday, November 20th. Sorry, Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We are at the Arvin Education Center for the regular monthly called meeting of the Oldham County Board of Education. We will, oh, sir?
Yes, just like to make one really recommendation to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, now a motion to approve the agenda, made by Ms. Sheffer, seconded by Mr. Dodson. All those in favor, and that's 5-0. Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Dalton, would you like to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance today?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to take a moment, please, if we could tonight, a moment of silence for a student that we lost this week from Centerfield Elementary School, Corbin Ritchie, and also for the Petschke family at East Oldham Middle School. So we're going to take a moment of silence to recognize those two individuals. Thank you. First up, sir.
Yes, ma'am, I'd like to invite Dr. Smith to come forward and give the board an update for our instructional session.
Welcome, Dr. Smith.
Hello. Good afternoon. What you see on the screen is a similar structure to the report that I gave last year on our KSA data. We have been tracking the KSA data post-COVID and created a common structure so that we can see year on year what each cohort's performance looks like, but you also can track individual groups of kids over time to see how they've done overall. At the very end of the presentation, I'll also talk a little bit about our TSI schools and the efforts that we're taking to support those schools as they come out of TSI. Oh, all right, here we go. So we're going to begin by looking at mathematics. And math has been a focus area for us as a school district over the last couple of years, and that began right after COVID with the adoption of the Bridges mathematics curriculum in 5 of our elementary schools. The other 4 elementary schools were using Eureka, and since starting with Eureka have moved to Eureka Math Squared, which is the next iteration of the Eureka curriculum. And what you can see here is that in 2021, right after COVID, we had, if you're looking at 3rd grade, our students were at 45% proficiency. The way that the state looks at our scores is they look at each group of 3rd graders and how they do going through our system. So you have a cohort of 3rd grade compared to the next cohort of 3rd grade. That's the 3 scores that you see lined up. And you can see in terms of our performance and our proficiency levels, in 3rd grade we grew to around 52% proficiency and have held steady. We saw a slight decline in our 4th grade math cohort, and then in 5th grade that cohort has grown each year. If you start at the far left and look at the group that was at 45% proficiency in 3rd grade, that is the group that is then 59% proficiency in 4th grade in 2022, and then 64% proficiency in 5th grade in 2023. So by just tracking that one bar and how it shifts across the screen, you can also see the growth that's taking place for students as a group as they move through the system. If you look at middle school, we saw really strong improvements in mathematics from 2021 to 2023, being in the 40-ish percentile range and jumping for the 6th grade cohort up 18 points to 58% proficiency. We saw a slight decline in 7th grade and a slight decline in 8th grade. But when we look at our own performance and compare that to other counties of similar size, we are among the top in the state. The next set of indicators that we track is the novice group. So each year we have a group of students that fall in the lowest range on the KSA assessment, and we track to see how much can we shrink that group of students over time. This is a real challenge. Students that are in the novice range are a wide range that have a lot of different needs that are supported both through intervention programming that we do in elementary and middle school, and also just having access to our core curriculum. You'll notice that in 4th grade, we saw an increase in the number of students in the novice range, which is something we don't like to see. It's something that we're leaning into to unpack why it is that group of students has grown from 21 to 23, but in other places we see it staying fairly consistent. In middle school, you can see our novice numbers are either slightly declining, staying steady, or growing a little bit in 8th grade. And so when you compare that to our growth in proficiency overall, there's often a stretch in the number of kids in the apprentice range that are getting smaller, some slipping to the novice range, and in other cases it's just a shift between the proficient distinguished numbers in that category. We also break out our data by different demographic groups. And so these are groups that are reported by the state that we also track internally. And so you can see from elementary through high school, the math proficiency for students who self-report to us as white, 2 or more races, Hispanic, and then the last couple of groups are socioeconomic status and also support through special education. Special education is an area we have focused a good deal on. We see, especially at the high school level, a real opportunity to do more around mathematics. And we have spent, over the last year, we have worked really hard on our co-teaching models and how we support students when they are in a co-taught classroom and learning both reading and math. Do you have any questions on math or math curriculum before I move on to reading? All right.
Why did we switch from 2 races to, why don't we include the African Americans like we did last year?
That's a really good question. The data we got back from the state gave us asterisks for African American students, and so I swapped that out with 2 or more races. And I think it was because of the number of students that were reported, but I can find out why we got an asterisk. We also got that in high school science. That was the data coming back to us.
Yeah, I saw some in the high school, but then when I went to the website, it had it on there.
Okay, I can add that back to this chart for us.
All right, thank you.
Yep. So in terms of our reading work, you're going to see here the general growth of our proficiency levels for elementary school in 3rd to 5th grade. Similar to what you saw with math, we saw a significant jump in our 3rd grade reading, and we see some steady growth in 4th grade. In 5th grade, it's been kind of a slight decline and then an additional improvement. Looking at middle school, we can see improvement in 6th, in 7th. The number that would normally be in 2021 for 8th grade would be 67% for that cohort of students. It dropped to 57% last year, and then we're back up to 59 now. And then in terms of novice reduction, here we see some of the things that we're looking for, which is a decline in the number of students that are in the novice range in 3rd grade and in 4th grade. They've held steady at 5th, and then here you see a decline in 6th, holding steady in 7th, and a slight drop in 8th grade. And then the breakout, as you see here, is showing you the demographic groups. Here I wanted to also just draw attention to our science performance, and I do that in terms of proficiency and also the novice range, and that is last year we piloted a single module in the PhD science curriculum that was for 4th grade students. Feedback from teachers was that it was extremely helpful and they would like to expand that pilot. So this year we are piloting the 4 modules for PhD science in 4th grade, and we've started this year with 2 modules in 3rd grade. The teachers in 3rd grade are finishing their work with module 2, and then we're going to get feedback from them to see if they would like to continue the pilot or whether they want to look for other resources. So science is a place where we're focusing our energy, and we're really trying to hear from teachers what they need and making sure that they have the resources that they need. If we take a look here, the last slide is around TSI support. We had 4 schools that were in TSI status last year. 2 of those schools came off, and so right now it's Oldham County Middle School and South Oldham Middle School are both receiving TSI support through around special education. With Nikki Brown, our Director of Special Education, we have unpacked TSI data with those schools and their principals. We have building committees that were in place last year that continue this year, where they're looking at individual student data, and then we make a schedule where we go and visit classrooms with the principal and give feedback on what we're seeing. So we're trying to lean in and give support so that we can get all of our schools out of TSI status next year. That is our goal. Any questions for me on reading, math, or any of the topics that we've covered so far?
When I look at, these are all COVID numbers. When I go back 17, 18, 18, 19, we are way off from the levels we were there. So I asked you this last year, I'm gonna ask you again. What's our target percent-wise to increase to get closer to those 17, 18, 18, 19 numbers?
So what you'll hear in December is in our CDIP presentation, we'll look at our five-year goal that we're going to set for each of our subject areas. We try to set very ambitious goals that we're working towards, especially in reading and math, and we're making progress towards those goals. In a couple of places, we've seen the assessment change. So if you go back to 17, 18, and the science test, some of our science data was really high 5 or 6 years ago, and that has shifted a little bit with the way that we assess students in science. If you look up 3D assessment, you'll learn more about giving kids really complicated problems to solve during the assessment window. But for us, our goal is to help all students achieve the highest level they possibly can. So you could say 100% proficiency for all students, but
Need realistic numbers.
realistic proficiency. Our goal is set usually around 80% proficiency is what we hope to achieve over a 5-year window, and then we break down reaching that goal into the growth we would make year on year. And I think that for us is the goal, as opposed to saying we hope to reach 50% proficiency, which I don't think is acceptable to any parent or.
And these numbers
teachers.
for proficiency actually contain proficiency and distinguished.
Yes,
with
that's right.
novices by themselves. correct?
Novice and apprentice are broken out separately.
Right.
So
So-
proficient and distinguished, that's why it's P/D, so it's both.
Thank you.
Dr. Smith, I appreciate this presentation, and board members appreciate questions, Mr. Dennis, and from any of our board members. I also want to just remind our board a couple of things. One, and just make you aware, our school leaders are working really hard with their leadership teams. As you heard last month, the presentation on use of iReady and the data, because this data was, these assessments, tests were given last May, and we didn't get the results back until November. So we've been working really hard on iReady and how we can use that real time with our students moving forward. So really appreciate the hard work by our leaders and what our board members may not see of really just using data to drive our decision making and moving that forward. We have work to do. Students with disabilities is an area that we need to really work on, and science is another area. But one thing I also highlight, and Dr. Smith touched on this a little bit, is we've seen results where we have focused our time and attention and our energies. And so I really appreciate the hard work of all of our folks, such as we've had some schools that have come out of TSI and are working very diligently. They're really close. So we got to continue to do that while we're also really working hard to recruit and retain the best quality staff in front of our kids every day.
Yep.
Dylan, can I ask a question?
Sure.
At what point in time or when do you all look at, for example, there's 2 different math curriculums that are being used. At what point in time do you look at those scores and say, hey, it looks like this curriculum's doing way better, those students are scoring better than this one, or?
So we do look at them as cohorts, and I think so the law changed last spring, which would allow us to select the curriculum for our schools compared to site-based councils selecting the curriculum for each school. I think we have looked at that internally, and we've also shared those results back at the level meeting, that group. We have not yet reached a place where we've said we should shift the entire district to a single curriculum. And part of that is because We go through a really rigorous process as schools select what they feel is best for their students. Every school is not the same. And we're trying to also avoid the perception of the district making you do something that you're not invested in doing, and then, you know, having the implementation dip that comes with a brand new structure to how you teach reading, math, or something else. We have a curriculum committee right now, and Mrs. Six will present on that, each of our work groups that are looking at our reading curriculum across the district. And we have schools piloting different resources, each of them kind of gravitating in one direction or another. And so what we're trying to do as a system is to take the schools and cluster the data together by those cohorts, share it back and say, here's what we're seeing. Is this still the right curricular resource for your school, or would you like to see something else that's being used in another building? We have also traveled to other counties to see some of our other things in action and ask teachers that are using it what they think about what's being implemented. So we're trying really hard to be responsive.
And so we need to assess that after this year, which will be 2 years, and then again, really after year 3. Typically,
Year
after
3 is the magic number.
implementation, you start to see and make adjustments as we need to.
Yeah.
Board members, any other questions?
All right.
Dr. Smith.
Thank you.
Next, sir.
Yes, I'd like to invite Dr. Shelton to come forward and give him a treasurer's report to the board.
Good evening. I'll start with looking at report number 2, which of course summarizes all of our individual cash accounts. And as I talked with you about last month, we are at that point in the year where we are at the lowest point of cash flow. In November next month, you'll see a huge increase in our cash flow. Just as an example, today we got a $55 million check for property taxes that you'll see in next month's report. So our balances this month are about as low as you normally see them throughout the year. It's the way the cycle works. November through February is when we receive the bulk of our revenues. So looking at our expenditures compared to receipts, you can see we are $13 million worth of disbursements in our governmental funds compared to $8.7 million of receipts. And so our balances dipped from $28.7 million to $24.3 million in our governmental funds. Do still have strong balances in all of our other accounts. The other thing that I wanted to highlight on this report is there is a timing difference. As you know, when you approve the stipends for our employees, we moved $2.3 million from our investment account. We're moving that into the general fund account, and so that just through the banking and the timing of the month, it will actually show as a reconciling item here on this report and be reflected in next month's report. If you look at report 5 on the account analysis, you can see our revenues and expenses are on track and are comparable to our prior years. And again, next month you'll start to see a much more normal trend when you see the large increase in revenues due to our taxes coming in. We'll also, be receiving the initial portion of our building fund equalization matching funds this next month. We'll get 50% of those, and so that'll be another large increase that we'll have. Following the selected account analysis in report 5, you have the traditional reports of the general fund revenues on our 4-year trend, and those are very comparable in analysis, and then our regular monthly balance sheet and income statement. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Board members?
Yeah, recommend to approve.
Taking a motion to approve the treasurer's report, made by Mrs. Shepherd, seconded by Mr. Dodson. All those in favor, and that's 5-0. Okay, meeting minutes. We have one one set of meeting minutes from the October 16th board meeting. Board members, do you have any changes to those minutes? Can I get a recommendation to approve? Made by Mrs. Clem, seconded by Mrs. Sheffer. All those in favor? And that's 5-0. Next, sir.
Yes, personnel actions. I would present that to the board as presented in your packet.
Board members, any questions? Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, consent items. My recommendation would be to approve the consent items as presented.
Board members, any questions?
Yeah, I got a few.
Okay. Mr. Dennis?
Hey, Brian, can you come up real quick? I know you don't have your computer.
That's all right, I've got it on my phone.
All right. Is B2 the soccer fields on the agenda here?
Are you at 8B?
Yeah, 8B2.
Yes, sir.
All right. Was that just for the lighting package, or was that the
No,
actual?
no, sir, it's both.
I'm sorry?
It's both.
Both.
Both at both high schools, Oldham County High School and North Oldham High School.
All right.
So you'll see that it's broken down on your enclosure. Let me get there.
Has that group that we hired, and I forget the name of it, have started on OC campus to,
Yes, they've started on their evaluation process. We've actually seen some of their drone surveying equipment is starting to come in.
so I guess my question is, should we pause till we see that? So we can maybe incorporate the whole campus into maybe a potential plan to fix or new fields, not only soccer, but tennis courts potentially, baseball, softball, see what they have to say before we start another project.
That would be a board-level decision on y'all's part, but I think that as we've moved through up to this point, we've kind of taken the projects that we have kind of in the hopper, so to speak, into consideration as well. We've done some preliminary layouts layovers as far as what they've with their survey equipment, and then potential roadway changes and how that affects the campus. So I don't foresee any issue with moving forward with the projects that we currently have, because we've kind of had those in mind as we've been putting tasks in front of them to look at and what they should be surveying. I'd be more than happy to sit down with you before we initiate this contract and show you some of the kind of the next steps of the work that they've provided so far.
When will we kind of see a final report for OC campus? Or
Probably it wouldn't be a final report, but it would be an initial report in December.
December?
Yes,
All right.
that was the next time that they were going to be in front of you all.
All right. Madam Chair, I don't think I could vote for number 2 yet. I'd like to see what we hired that company and to see what they put for that campus, so we might be able to incorporate more facilities into it, except just not the soccer stadium. So if we move forward, just to let you know, that's why I'll vote probably no on their consent items.
Okay.
Was there other items that you'd?
Liberty. When are we tearing it down? It's an eyesore for the neighborhood. I drive up and down that street. We got busted out windows. The lights are on again.
I know, I've turned them off a couple times. They keep coming back on magically.
Why can't we move forward?
So
and-
currently, we're under, we're going through a state audit of the underground storage tanks. There were at one point in time 3 underground storage tanks on that facility. We've had 2 of them removed, one in 95, one in 96, and there's a third one that's going through the state audit process of making sure that it has the soil contamination and all of that stuff has to be removed in a certain procedure.
Is
So-
it a cistern or is it?
No, it was a underground diesel storage tank.
All right. So
that's where we
we're
current-
basically tied up by the state still on.
Yeah, we're
Liberty.
moving forward with the, with putting the plans together for it, but while we're doing that's part of the first stage of the abatement process, is to make sure that we have all of the knowns and unknowns covered, so that when we start to excavate the site, we're not coming across something that we didn't realize was there.
Understand.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
Was there anything else on the consent?
No.
Okay.
Is there a way the board can get access to a file? So like when you bring up the stadium lighting,
Mhm.
we're able to go in and actually look at that whole project online.
Yes, sir. On Fact Pack?
So, because honestly, if any one of us can say we can keep up with what you're doing on projects, we are lying.
Yeah, it's a full-time job.
And I don't, I try to go back meeting after meeting just to look at all the money that is going through the project. But it'd be easier if we could click on a folder and this is the stadium project, and then we could go through it and it'd be like a history for us.
The, probably the best format, it would be through KDE's, what they call Fact Pack system, which is the facilities, and I forgot, it's an acronym mixed with a, abbreviation, but, their Fact Pack system, you all should probably, have access, just, through your logins to, at minimal, use it as a viewer.
All right.
And we can look into that with KDE about getting sign-ins and logins to make sure, if not currently available, but I would think that you would have it available.
And Mr. Dennis, I appreciate your comment. We're working very diligently and certainly always want to be very transparent about the progress and the projects that we have going. And our current process is approximately every other month we provide a construction update that has pictures and details of all the projects that's happening. And so then, as a board, I would just remind our board members, all of our board and our entire board, that that's why that we work together to make sure that we are, as the chief executive officer of the Board of Education, that we're implementing, we are doing the things the board's authorized us to do and moving that forward. And I appreciate your sense of responsibility with that, but I just say that from a summary perspective.
It's not I don't trust you. It's just, I would like to see, I mean, some of these is 1, 6, 7 million. I'd like to know where, even though I may approved it or saw it on the sheet, and I did see that from the last board meeting, when we do improvements or changes, I would like to be able to see the whole package. And it's not a fault of yours, it's just the size
is
of
there
all
more-
these projects that are going on, there's a ton.
Is there more information that you would like to see attached to the enclosure for each one? I mean, other than?
No, I see your brief synopsis, but trying to go back and look at what we
Okay.
voted on, for existence, Field 2 was in September.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then-
I try to start with in the description, to start with the last
You-
board
you
action.
do,
so
and
that-
you do a decent job, but
It's a lot,
I know it's a lot.
so, okay.
I think it's too much for you,
Well, we'll
honestly,
see if we
but-
can get, y'all access so that you can actually go in and look at specific
Yeah.
projects.
And just, if no one else wants it, I'd like to have it,
Okay.
just so I can go back and look. I'd appreciate it.
No problem. Anything else?
I know it's
Right,
off
thank you.
subject, but next month we'll have a art center report.
I think we have one in December.
Yes, we have a construction.
Yep, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions? Can I get a motion to approve the consent items? Made by Ms. Shepherd, seconded by Mrs. Clem. All those in favor? All those opposed? And that passes 4-1. Okay. I said our student showcase would go on at 5:30, so we're a little bit ahead. So we're going to stick to our 5:30 for that, since that's when I said that we would do it. And recognition, so if we can go ahead and skip to your super report, sir,
Sure can.
that would be great.
Sure can. First, I'd like to invite Ms. Six to come forward and give an update to the board about strategic planning and the work that we're doing with that, and also with our work groups.
Okay. Do we have a pillars visual to, no, okay.
They have it in their packages.
It's in your packets, the pillars visual. Tonight, I'd like to report to you on the work of the 8 groups who moved this work forward. The Strategic Planning Committee, the Engagement Committee, the Budget Committee, and the Project Planning Committee. Those are really the groups that serve as the foundation for our strategic plan and those pillars. Students, employees, families, and community. And how can we improve the experience for all of our stakeholders? So as we continue to define what it means to ignite passion and experience excellence in Oldham County schools, we're focused on the actions at the district level right now. We have plans to move the work forward to schools in June of 2024, but for now, our focus is on district work, and it's centered on the 4 pillars. So last week, our coach, Dr. Ashby, worked with our school and district leaders and met with the Strategic Planning Committee. We continue to identify the actions and discuss how we'll measure our progress, and I'm here tonight to report on the work groups. And so Dr. Radford and I were talking today, think of the work groups as the wheels that move it forward. So I'm trying to get it straight in my mind. I know it's a lot. As you listen to the work of these groups, connect them to a pillar. In your mind, do you hear about students? Do you hear about employees, families, and community? We are going to try to connect all of our work to those groups. They will be impacted. So first, the Engagement Committee. How do we best engage, empower, and elevate our stakeholders? So this group, they've met and they determined the content areas for the community publication that will be mailed in December. They are researching and gathering building level feedback on the need or desire for a district-wide app designed to be a one-stop shop where we keep all the information. They're exploring recognitions for board meetings, our regular recognitions and special recognitions. They're exploring ways to increase partnerships and ties with local businesses and organizations. And they're also focused ahead on how we can organize communication, house information for all employees. Right now, we use Google, we use SharePoint, we use intranet. What is a way we can house all the information and format it so it can be easily accessed by all? So we could take this one group at a time. Do you have any questions about the Engagement Committee?
Ooh, I love the idea of a district-wide app because I would love to be able to click on something and say, okay, North Oldham High School girls play tonight, South Oldham boys
yeah.
play tonight, and
Pull it up.
it would really be, or there's a play at the Art Center tonight. Like, it would really be nice to have it all in one spot instead of feeling like you have to click in 17 different places to try to find schedules of what's going on.
I love it. Good feedback. So the Budget Committee, the budget will help our strategic plan come to life. They've had 2 meetings this fall. They've reviewed last year's budget and the actions of the board, and they've been trying to study and learn about tax revenue. They've looked at the approved working budget, estimated property values, and the seat calculations and attendance. They've also worked with our Chief Financial Officer to review a budget worksheet that we use for planning in the future. And we've reviewed the legislative updates in respect to Oldham County's 3 priorities, reviewed staff changes from 21 to 22, 22 to 23, salary schedules, and discussed how we would need to gather input from other work groups for action steps. So, knowing that the Budget Committee makes it all work, we're working the plan. Do you have any questions about or for the Budget Committee? Project planning. As you know, the board has approved multiple capital construction projects. Joe says we got a lot going on, and we do. From this action, our district is currently working to renovate or build new facilities, and the work supports our commitment to academics, arts, and athletics for all students. This work group will meet in December, and they're going to review the timelines for the current projects and the communication expectations. We want our schools to be aware of what's coming down the path so everybody's up to date and knows when things are going to be happening, and we strive to implement these projects effectively and efficiently.
So this work group will have an impact on all stakeholder groups, but ultimately the students will benefit with a world-class facilities wherever they attend and experiences. That's our top priority. Specialized programming. This group kicked off a new student survey today, running through the month of December, and the survey will identify their strengths and interests and provide information to inform our future pathways. So last year, our kids took a survey and the questions were posed like, do you want to learn more about aerospace engineering? That was a pathway. Well, they might have clicked yes, but they really don't know what that might mean for a class to take. So this year, the questions they were asked, will be asked 15 questions, and it will match their interests with a pathway. And then we will know and be able to, it will inform our next steps about, okay, do we need another welding pathway somewhere? Do we need to combine welding at another location or at South? We'll collect the data and use that to inform our next steps. So I love that we're asking students what they want, and that's important for parents as well. So any questions about specialized programming?
One of the things I love about this is trying to identify, using this tool to help us identify students' passion, and that's connecting a student's passion to a pathway, and that's what we're really trying to do. So that have data to help drive some of those decisions, because so we might need to think about different pathways that we currently don't have, or how we can expand the ones that we do.
Thank you. The curriculum committee, they are busy bees. 4 major initiatives going on with the curriculum work group. They, of course, are staying up to date with Senate Bill 9, the Read to Succeed Act. They, based on KSA data that you heard from Dr. Smith, they are going to work to increase science achievement for all, and I'll talk about that in a moment. They're aligning mathematics courses 9 through 12, and they're going to take on the challenge of progress reporting across the district. One of the data points we collected said our parents want to know more about what their kids are learning in school. And sometimes that can be as simple as an email that kids might send home. Mom and Dad, I'm learning this in science. I'm learning this in social studies. My behavior is this, my attendance. All those things we can do easily, but we also want to take on the big task of the progress report and set the floor. What do we want our parents to know related to achievement of standards? We have schools doing it different ways, and we're going to standardize that process. But with the science work, that work is in full force. All district science teachers were given an opportunity to provide feedback and input. The district leadership collected data last week, and maybe the week before, in science classrooms and completed an analysis of the data. Tomorrow, our first ever science symposium will take place in the afternoon, where our science experts will come together, analyze all the data collected, and determine priority areas for science work. And this is a result of responsive leadership by our district leaders. They're focused, and we took the state assessment data to heart, and it will be better next year. We're going to promise that. So write that down. We want to see improvements in science for next year, and I'm pretty sure we will. We've met all the timelines required by Read to Succeed, and just an update on the literacy committees at the school. They're active. They're now analyzing and piloting a variety of resources to determine which would best work for the students they serve. And we will be giving 2 opportunities to review these pilots. At the school level, parents now have the opportunity to review pilot materials, but then also there will be a district process once literacy committees and site-based councils make their recommendation to the superintendent by June 1. So we will have, by July 1, recommendations for our literacy programs at all the elementary schools. And then that's what I have for the curriculum committee. Do you have questions about their work? Liz has that group rolling. They're in good shape. The CCEIS committee, their goal is to decrease the significant disproportionality ratio of black students with an intellectual disability. And so they've determined areas for growth and set targeted goals. So these goals will help all students, but they are looking at implementing evidence-based literacy instructional practices, solid implementation of a formal diagnostic tool, which is iReady, and I've spoken with several parents about how we are doing such a much better job with iReady and the implementation of iReady in terms of learning how to print reports and use the data in our classrooms. And so next, the focus will be on helping our parents better understand the iReady data. And then also just ongoing training and support. What do our teachers need to be better instructors in their classrooms? Preschool committee. How can we improve kindergarten readiness? And our first priority is to find our children, birth to 5. So that's our number one priority, to locate the students. And so in collaboration with the engagement work group, we've added, for example, we've added a QR code that parents, when they get that publication in the mail, they can scan the QR code and they can, if they have a child birth to 5, they'll input that information and we'll build a directory so that we can start communicating with our future colonels, future dragons, future Mustangs now. And what the goal would be is to be able to send resources and just build communication a little sooner, help our kids get ready for school. So that's the focus of the preschool committee. And recruitment and retention. Above all, we're listening to our employees, certified and classified. And so this work group is exploring creative ways to recruit and retain staff with the end result of attracting and keeping the most effective ed professionals for the students of Oldham County, short term, long term. What are the things we can do by May of '24? And then what are the long-term things we can do so that we can keep bringing the best to Oldham County schools? So I hope as you heard the work going on with each of these work groups, you could connect to a pillar. That's our focus. Do you have any other questions?
Charlotte, can you send us an email that has who all makes up these committees?
Absolutely.
Please.
That's my question.
Carly, do you have a question?
It was the same question
Awesome.
that she had, but it also, is this something that the people that are on the committee now, will that change next year, or is it
It
a
can.
yearly thing?
It
Okay.
can. It did change, it's revised. We add people, and some people rotate off and do other committees, but it's flexible.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Appreciate that, Ms. Sick. I'll just share with the board, appreciate questions and clarifications that the work groups are used to help us implement the strategic plan and also to solve problems that we have right now that we need to address. So working hard, appreciate everyone and their work to help us build some momentum. All right. Next is the superintendent IOP, and I would just share as presented to the board. That is really evidence around the 7 standards that the Board of Education evaluates myself on it. Would highlight a couple of things. One, really around the strategic planning that you just heard. Also, we continue to advocate from, I think it's standard 7, with influential leadership and advocating for legislative priorities to help benefit our school district. I would make a quick note about one thing. Our legislative priorities not only benefit Oldham County schools, but it benefits all school districts in Kentucky, but certainly we would benefit from that locally and being able to help us recruit and retain the very best staff. And so we are, as you just heard, the update from the 6th, we've been working diligently to move our district forward, and there's some evidence there presented that over the last 2 months approximately that we've been doing to try to illustrate that for the board to see. Yes, school capacity report. I want to invite Mr. Williams. If someone could grab Mr. Williams, I think he's just right outside the door, to come and share. While he's making his way in, thought there's an action item for the board to approve, but before we ask the board to approve, that would be really timely for Mr. Williams to come and share an update about school capacity and what that looks like, what that means, and talk about what's really about the action item for tonight. Mr. Williams, thank you.
So what we are here for is, as you all know, we have a capacity ordinance with the county. That capacity ordinance has gone through many, many, many changes over the years that I have overseen it. We started with, you got 40 building permits at the time of approval. We've now gone to, it's on a scale of you get 35 to 15 in single family based on the capacity at the serving campus. For multifamily, you are guaranteed 75, and at the time of building plan. So, like, basically, once it's approved, you're looking at 2 years before we grant that 75. What is now going to be different in what you have seen or will see is with ChlorStation. About 4 years ago, we were approached to start looking at how do we make it different to make ChlorStation viable. And one of the things that was asked of the district to look at, and we were able to make it work, is that we are giving credit for green space, but also commercial property that would be brought into the county. So those will grant additional building permits, or we now call them units, not even really building permits, per year for those serving areas. So what that looks like, would multiply out to a maximum of 125 units per year. That's added to, so it's basically not, you could get 90 more than the max of 35 single family units, or, in addition to the number of apartments that they are granting or asking for. What we will see out of that is approximately 2,945 homes, if I remember correctly, is the final number. That is single family, multifamily, duplex, all of that. But that is built out over the next 20 years. So it's not like they're going to come drop 2,900 homes in a year. That's the next 20 years. It will be like Norton Commons, Oldham County, basically. So I am more than happy to answer any questions about our capacities and our capacity planning and ordinance with the county. So.
And Mr. Williams, could you also just touch on the actions that what we're asking for?
Oh, so what we're asking for is because of ChlorStation is getting ready to go to Planning Commission for its initial approval. And when we do that when we do that on any subdivision, you all, I produce it, you all approve it, Dr. Radford signs it, that says, yes, we have capacity, no, we don't have capacity, but we're working within the parameters of that ordinance that grants so many building permits per year. And again, and one of the things I didn't mention was, what that does for us is it helps us to plan future growth. I can tell you I have a giant spreadsheet that basically has every subdivision that's been approved for the last, I don't know, forever, 10 years at least, and how many units are still available in each of those developments, so that I can say it serves and it will feed to these schools, and this is what we can see coming in the future years. So basically what you're going to be asked to do is approve the initial letter for ChlorStation, because it will have the neighborhood capacity, but it will also have the addition of a planned housing development. So.
Board members, any questions?
If it is not approved, they got protections under state law to do so many, correct?
We're the only county, Mr. Dennis, in the state that has a capacity ordinance. We are basically providing information to the Planning Commission. Ultimately, it's the Planning Commission's decision whether they approve anything or not. We could go back to what we had before the capacity ordinance and they just approved whatever they wanted without our input. At least now we are able to give that input, and they do take it very seriously and look at it. Now, I will also say that because Clore Station is going to be built out over the next 20 years, you know, they're going to look at that way, you know, but we will be able to say, okay, here's what we can expect over the next 20 years, at least from Clore Station, to guide, you know, the production and building of new schools.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay. Michael, how many people were signed up for public expression? Two. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that then, leading up to 5:30, so that we can do, is that okay? Okay. Mr. Dodson, would you like to read public expression?
Yes, I would. Okay, the public and
Okay.
the public and news media are permitted to attend all open meetings of the board. No person may be required to give identification in order to attend any such meeting. The exception is the chairperson may impose conditions upon attendance at a given meeting only if such conditions are required for the maintenance of order. The board as a whole shall have the final decision as to the appropriateness of all rulings. The public comment period, each regular meeting shall include a public comment period of at least 15 minutes. Any board rules and policies regarding conduct during the school board meeting shall apply during the public comment period. Individuals or groups should contact the office of superintendent prior to the scheduled meeting in order to be considered for inclusion on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board must first be recognized by the chairperson. Persons who wish to address an agenda item should seek recognition at the time the board considers that particular item. Persons who wish to address the board on a non-agenda item are asked to seek recognition from the chairperson at the presentation on the agenda. The speakers, the chairperson may require the name and address of the speaker. The chairperson may rule on the relevance of the topic to the board's agenda. The chairperson may also establish time limits for speakers as may be required to maintain order and to assure the expedient conduct of the board's business. The board as a whole shall have the final decision as appropriate as all rulings. Non-agenda items, the board will not take official action on non-agenda items introduced by the public in the meeting at which they are first introduced.
Thank you, sir. So there's 4 people speaking. What do you all say? 4 minutes?
4.
4 minutes. Linda, you are first, ma'am.
Hi, yes, I'm Linda Stasiowski, and as a parent of a special needs student, I'd like to say thank you. I reached out this month with emails regarding the Young Adult Transition Program, their Facebook page, and I appreciate the follow-up from Dr. Radford and individual board members. The small step of sharing the program's activities supports that they have a place in our district and that their projects and activities are important, that their passions also have a pathway. They are building transferable skills. What you see as non-structured learning outside, cleaning windows, pulling weeds, crushing cans, are skill-building activities getting them ready for the next steps where you need focus, follow through, following directions, and team building, just like all the other classes. Every child is unique, but even more so in the special education field. I've had the honor to know many students who step up and are natural mentors for students with differences. Bringing awareness to the young adult transition students' successes helps build a bigger community of support and acceptance, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Little.
I was not able to get here in time to hear the presentation on KSA,
But I wanted to make sure that it was on the record, looking at some of those numbers. Personally, I'm interested in the high school numbers. That's closest to graduation. That is what my son is. High school math proficiency is at 58% if you are white. Compare that to 30% if you're at the poverty line, 14% if you are at special ed. Overall, our high school measure of proficiency in math is 57%. That means that 43% of our students in high school are not proficient in math. For our high school reading proficiency, we've got 63% of our white kids are proficient. Compare that to 38% of the poverty line, 19% of special ed. About a third of our ELL and IEP students, they've increased over 5 years by about 1/3. 15% of our ELL students reach attainment. That's it. ELL graduation rate is marked very low by the state. State assessments on reading and math show that 2 or more races is only at medium. Economically disadvantaged is low. Students with IEPs are very low. We have a high school proficiency percent of 21% total in science. 21%. And yet we are looking for teachers specifically trained in some of those harder to fill roles, like science. If we can't get more than 20% of our students proficient, how in the world are we going to have future teachers who are able to teach that? I just wanted it on the record to show those numbers because the disparity between them is shocking. The numbers that we're putting forth as proficient are absolutely flippin' ridiculous. And I cannot be proud of that. I know that we're very big on presenting a certain persona of who Oldham County is, and particularly to try to attract students, particularly to try to attract teachers. But if you're not fixing the problems that are going on, if we're not doing better than 14% of our special ed are math proficient, 19% of our special ed are reading proficient, if we're not doing better than that, we are not going to attract teachers, we are not going to attract students, and we're not serving our students that we have currently very well. I could go on, but I think those numbers speak for themselves. 21% proficient in high school science. That's kind of shocking to me. I really hope that y'all notice that in the KSA and the school report card. Thank you.
Dr. Radford.
Thank you.
According to Principal Wallace, wasn't it a statewide problem with the science assessment? That they need to reevaluate the assessment as a whole?
Yes, science scores and science data across the state, proficiency in science is not very good across the entire state. And in Oldham County, we're in the top in terms of performance, but that performance is not very good, as you heard Dr. Smith talk about tonight, which is why we evaluate what's happening in science across our district.
Okay.
But in 2017-18, we were at 50%. So I don't know if the statistics change or the recording change or we just gotta do better.
It's the state. Principal Wallace, didn't you say something that it might be the test itself, the assessment itself? Well, here. Like there's something wrong with the assessment.
There's been multiple changes to the state system, so we're not using the same system. The results we reported on, Dr. Smith reported on tonight, is a different system than 17-18.
Okay.
Amy Jones?
Okay, first off, I apologize because I've been teaching all day and I didn't get my comments totally organized, and then we got moved up, which is great, but I wasn't totally prepared yet. So I just wanted to come and discuss my concern regarding medical training for staff across the district, as well as communication from administrators at the school level. Almost 2 months ago, one of my kids was in a classroom where a medical incident occurred. While I totally understand HIPAA and the inability to discuss specific people and conditions, I was extremely disappointed in the school's handling of this matter. For a little background, and I apologize if I get emotional. Apparently I am. My son was diagnosed with epilepsy about 1.5 years ago. We're still struggling every day trying to figure out how to manage his seizures and medications and other things. We have no family history of epilepsy, and this came out of the blue in his sleep. Thankfully, in the middle of the night, he got up, had to use the restroom, and thought, I want to go lay by mom. So he was in my bed when this happened. And so I was able to take care of him. Now, most people would not know necessarily how to handle a seizure. The only reason I did was because I watch the Vector seizure training every single year. In my state of shock, I was still able to get him on his side. I knew enough to elevate his head, to put something under his neck, to never ever touch his mouth, clear his mouth, anything. All while my son is going through this, that training kicked in. Fast forward to this year. When this event occurred, the teacher did not know what to do, and unfortunately, my daughter had to be the one saying, no, stop, don't do that. That is unacceptable. That my 13-year-old had to be the adult, that when I spoke to the school, first off, I emailed. I waited till the next day thinking, okay, I don't want to be mama bear, right? Hopefully they let parents know that they were not evacuated. They all witnessed this event, and that these kids need someone to talk to. Counselors did not come. And again, I thought, I'll wait, maybe they will let us know. No communication. Again, I understand HIPAA, that you cannot say who it is, what happened, gender, grade, anything, but you can say, your child was in the room where something occurred. You might want to talk with them. You might want to see, do they need to talk to someone? Do they have questions? Because instead of that happening, my daughter spent the next 3 days at school fielding questions from students saying, what happened? Why did this happen? What do we say when they come back? Because a counselor never came to the classroom, ever. I emailed them. No one still has responded almost 2 months later. Neither counselor. I had a meeting with the principal. They didn't show up. I met with the vice principal. I was told I would get follow-up. Never. I have not received anything. Saw them in the school about 2 weeks ago. Said, hey, I don't want to talk now, but when you have time, are you still getting back to me? Yep, but not today. Walked out. It's unacceptable. I am currently working with a state senator to get the law changed because your teachers need to watch this training every single year. It's 15 minutes. Please have your teachers prepared because my child should not have to do that. And my son, who has now heard about this, asks me all the time, when I get there, are they going to know what to do? That is never okay. Please fix it. And I would love to, I have so many ideas on how you can make this better, but if a counselor can't even write me back, there's a huge problem with administration and communication. I have tried to handle this privately. I have tried to handle it at the school level. I did speak with your district nurse who was amazing, so shout out to Lisa, she was great. But every person that I have dealt with otherwise has let me down and has failed my family. Thank you.
Hey, Amy, can I ask you a question real quick? Where, did you see did we used to do the training and now we don't? Or?
As a substitute, I am required to do it every year.
So that's where you saw it?
Yep. And I also teach in Jefferson County, so I do it twice every single year. Your teachers, from what I understand, one school tells me that they don't have to watch it. Another school that another child of mine goes to says they are required to watch it. So I would love to get your district on the same page, because it's unacceptable that I'm getting totally different answers at two different schools on something that is literally life-altering. And when they come back to me and say, well, you know, some people rise to the occasion and some people don't know what to do, the fact that you're telling me that my 12-year-old was able to do it, but your teacher couldn't, and by the way, it's one of her favorite teachers, like, I'm not angry at the teacher. Does that make sense? Like, but you need to do better so that they can do better.
Thank you for the information, Amy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and please feel free to call me because I have a lot of ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. David Uber.
I'm back again. I was here last year. I'm actually here for a different issue, but I will mention that in support of her, my son was in a classroom that a student had a seizure in fairly recently, and he did come home with questions. If you guys did have something that would help with that, that would be great. I was happy to answer the questions, but it is something that at that age, he goes to East Oldham Middle School, it can give them things that they want to ask about. I'm here about busing again. I was in last year, and I will admit that it has gotten better as far as the number of times that the bus is getting to our house on time. That is improved, but it still is not quite where we need it to be just yet. Starting from this year, we had once in August, once in September, 3 times in October, and now we've got 4 times in November that my son is coming home later than scheduled from school because we don't have enough drivers for the buses. Still, okay? I know it's a struggle. I know that Jefferson County pays more for both bus drivers and for their CDL drivers. But we're the richest county in the state. Still. So, I mean, it's definitely something that I'd appreciate you guys continuing to look at, continuing to improve on. I think that the one that really got me is that there was an early dismissal day that you guys had where students were being let out early. And that was a day that my son was informed that not only was his bus late, but the bus was going to be 2 hours late. So he got to watch the entire class, the entire school, have an early dismissal. And granted, I did get off of work that day to go and pick him up, but he would have had to sit there and watch everybody leave and then sit there and wait 2 hours for the bus to take him home on time on a day that's supposed to be special for them. It's about their time. They do put in their time at school. I think that they could probably do a little bit more time at home with some homework. We could probably use a little bit more homework. That's fine with me. But getting them home is important. Getting them home on time is important. We need a few extras to be able to be on call, that if somebody's sick, somebody has a surgery, something comes up, that we don't have a bunch of kids sitting at school waiting for a bus to get there to be able to get them home. We have the resources in this state. We have extra, in this county, we have extra buses. We just don't have drivers. Let's maybe sell a bus or 2 and hire the drivers. Because if it's just an empty bus that's sitting in a parking lot, it doesn't do us any good. If we could put a driver in it, that would help. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Okay. We are going to do student recognition at this time. Oh, I'm sorry, student showcase, yes. That's what I meant, sorry. So our student showcase is North Oldham High School. I got you within 10 minutes of it, Craig.
That's really good.
All right, welcome. I'm going to introduce some folks to you, and then I'm going to kind of let them run with it. I would I would say that one of the, I don't want to call it underrepresented, but you know, the years that I've been here, I don't know how many schools have brought their highly structured functional academics teachers and some of their peer tutors here to present. But I feel like when you're talking about educating the whole child, there's probably not a classroom in our building that does that better on a day-to-day basis than these folks here. And so two incredibly gifted teachers who put in long hours and do amazing jobs, not only with students that really are theirs on their caseload, but also peer tutors. And so you'll meet Dawson and Carter, a couple peer tutors, and then Meredith and Stephanie are the teachers. I'm gonna let you guys run with it, but amazing people. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I never talk in a microphone. This is weird. Hi, I'm Meredith Cabero. I'm one of the teachers at North Oldham High School, and
I'm Stephanie Watson. I'm also at North Oldham, one of the other highly structured teachers.
so our classroom, it strives to create independence in students with moderate to severe disabilities, and our program consists of many different aspects. We will highlight the community-based instruction part, peer tutoring program, and Best Buddies, which is our extracurricular club. Hard word to say. Go ahead.
So one of the things that I think is important to highlight is that our students not only go through some of the functional academics and activities, but we also have standards that align to the Gen Ed standards as well. So the idea is that when they go into the general education setting, into some of those core content classes, that they would be able to get some of that same instruction. So we have alternate assessment standards and targets that go along with the general education setting, or standards. And then we do a lot of functional activities like cooking. We have daily living skills that we go through. We have college and career readiness standards that they go through each year. They're also called EFAS standards. We have related service providers that come in and work with our kids through occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech language therapy. And the hope is that they do a lot of the skills that are mostly school-based, but hopefully with a lot of our MSD kids, they get some of those skills to also take outside of the classroom as well. And then we do a lot of community-based instruction as well, which has been great, and we'll kind of add on to that here in a minute.
So one of the special things about North and Oldham County high schools in general is we have a peer tutoring program. Our peer tutors are very special in what helps us gain the skills, the relationships, the friendships that we need to really survive and make you feel a part of this community. So we're really fortunate to have a strong peer tutoring program at the school. And we brought a couple peer tutors with us today. Carter has been a peer tutor since he was in 6th grade, and Dawson has just now joined us when he was a senior, so I'll let them come up and talk for a little bit.
Hi, my name is Carter Duncan. I'm a senior at North. I started, like Ms. Cabero said, I started Peer Buddies in 6th grade. I quickly fell in love with doing it. Every day I look forward to it. It's taught me just a lot of life lessons that I'll take outside of school, so thank you.
Hi, I'm Dawson. I only started this year, and it's been a really great experience for me. We do a lot of stuff outside the classroom, which is the best part about what we do. Like me, Will, and Carter, we go get ice cream sometimes. We went to McDonald's for some reason, and we have a great time outside the classroom. Right up there, we do. Will comes to our football games, and it's like a team manager sometimes. And it's just a great program out both inside and outside of the classroom. Thank you.
So the next thing that we do is community-based instruction. And the thing that we get to do with this is we get to work with the parents on a lot of what our students' interests are. So that way we can help build some individualized programming for our kids out in the community based on their interest.
So we go to different jobs, like we'll go to some job sites. Like this is one of our students. She goes to Harmony, and this was actually on Friday. She was helping check out books. And this has been such a great thing for us to do. And then when we go shopping, we'll go look for items on a specific item list, and we work a lot on our budgeting skills so that way when they get to graduation and after high school, they can take that into what they do in their daily lives.
One of the favorite things that I think that I've started this year, or that we've started this year, is Best Buddies. Best Buddies is an extracurricular club. Best Buddies creates opportunities for more than one-to-one friendship, integrated employment, leadership development, and inclusive living for individuals with these needs. And it's really a fun opportunity. We just had a Best Buddies meeting today during EDGE is when we meet. We got to make thankful cards and things like that for Thanksgiving. In the past, we did a Kahoot, and we all love Kahoots, so that was the best part about it. But I will go ahead and end with a closing clip from one of my students, just talking about how this, the peer tutor and the highly structured classroom has really benefited him in high school. So. Oh no. This is my life. So anyway, it's basically a kid saying, you know, he loves peer tutors, not just because of the academics, but for friendships. That's one of the best things about it. And it's another kid ending by saying, "Go Mustangs," because, yeah, we love our school, not just our classroom. So, thank you.
Any questions? Thank you all so much. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move to recognition.
You look sharp. You can do it. You look good.
Okay, we have several recognitions for this evening. First, I want to recognize some heroes from the Oldham County Preschool. I have a letter I'd like to read that was written by some of our parents from the Oldham County Preschool, and I'd like to share that with you now. It reads, "My family wants to take this moment to put the spotlight on 3 staff members from Oldham County Preschool. My son's teacher, Miss Yates, the school nurse, Laura, and the principal, Jessica." That's Miss Caston. "On Thursday, November 2nd, my child was having a reaction to something he ate while arriving at school. Soon as my son entered Mrs. Yates' classroom, she saw the condition of my son and immediately acted. Being as calm as she could be, she got him down to the office and alerted the nurse and principal of the condition without scaring him. The nurse and principal followed the protocols quickly. While the nurse was gathering vitals, examining my son, Miss Yates was holding him as if he were one of her own, and was so amazing with him while this scary experience was taking place. When epi was needed, they were right on top of it and kept bragging on my son about how well he took it. This would not have happened if it wasn't for the amazing staff being calm through everything. When the ambulance arrived, my son needed to be placed on the stretcher, and Miss Yates was trying to place him on there, and my son would not let go of her. Being a mom and seeing this connection between my son and his teacher just shows me that while he is at school, he is being well taken care of in the classroom. When we arrived at the hospital, Mrs. Yates was continuously checking on my boy and even sent him a video with his classmates wishing him well. Miss Yates has been checking in on him every day, and I'm so thankful to have her as his teacher this year. Again, thank you ladies so much for acting quick on this situation while being calm and making sure my baby was calm and okay during this whole situation. As my son says, These three ladies are my heroes, the Hatfields, Kimberly, Nick, and Carson. So I'd like to invite Emma Yates and Laura Drury and Jessica Caston, Miss Caston, to come forward, and I'd like to just recognize them, and we'll get a quick photo. So ladies, please come forward. Please give them another big hand, please. One more hand, please. Next, I'd like to recognize the 2024 National Merit Semifinalists. Each year, the National Merit Scholarship Corporation honors students across the nation whose scores are the highest in the PSAT, NMSQT test taken in the fall of their junior year. This year, 9 students from Oldham County Schools have been named 2024 National Merit Semifinalists. Approximately 1/3 of the national high scorers on the PSAT, NMSQT are notified that they have qualified as semifinalists. Semifinalists advance to the finalist standing in the scholarship competition by meeting high academic standards, as well as demonstrating community involvement, strong work ethic, and extracurricular pursuits. Additionally, the student must be recommended by a high school official, write an essay, earn SAT scores that align with their earlier performance on the qualifying test. Finalists will be announced this spring. So I have a few students I'd like to recognize from North and from South Oldham High School. First, and when I call your name, please come forward, and we have a recognition we'd like to share with you and get a quick photo. From North Oldham High School, by Shinami Pindiala. From South Oldham High School, Ethan Hutchcraft, Noah Kevorkian, Sophie Nadinger. Please come forward. Give them a big hand, please. Can I have my paper back? It's okay, thank you. Okay, 2 more groups I'd like to recognize. First, we want to recognize our classified and building reps, so our support staff and our building reps who give us feedback as a district about our organization, and we appreciate this two-way communication. I want to recognize 2 groups. First, I'd like to recognize our support staff. They meet with us consistently throughout the year. They provide us or ask us questions, and we really try to create two-way dialogue. So we want to thank our classified, our support staff, and building reps for all you do to help our district run smoothly. We appreciate your dedication and involvement in improving internal communication and strengthening community by serving as representatives and bringing a voice to discuss and solve issues for our staff throughout the school year. So when I call your name, we have a gift a little token that we like to give you just to say thank you, and we appreciate your commitment, your dedication, and your voice to help us be able to have the best working conditions and to support our staff across the board, because it's not without you, we wouldn't be able to take care of our kids. First, I'd like to recognize our support staff, our classified reps. I'll call your name, and please come forward, and then we'll get a group picture, and then I'll move on to the last group, last but not least. Kelly Sissel, Karen Horton, Stephanie Moss, Macy Hess, Jennifer Miles, Paula Judy, Joy Herbert, Penny Perkins, Jana Lambert, Tammy Reynolds, Melinda Fox, Heather Miller, Laura Cummings, Aaron Hayden, Meredith McIntosh, Sonia Yantz, Kathy Rickson, Jody Hackworth, Tiffany Roll, Heather Morgan, and Donna Garrett. Please give them a big hand. Next, I'd like to recognize our building representatives. And those are, when I call your name, please come forward. Megan Cheek, Courtney Lowe, Abby Schrader, Melena Salyer, Corin Finch, Sarah Hendrick, Braxton Hall, Amy Calvert, Tracy Simpson, Becky Brewer, Kara Lauterbach, Craig Holman, Tony Wise, Allison Fry, Angie Brown, Rebecca Tuffer, Kathy Rickson, Carrie Shade, and Adam Nust. Please give them a big hand. Small but mighty group. We'll get a quick picture. All right.
Thank you. Okay. Next, sir.
Yes, that brings us to our action items. First up is early graduation due to hardship requests. My recommendation is for that to be approved as presented.
Any questions from the board members? Motion to approve, made by Ms. Shepherd, seconded by Ms. Clem. All those in favor? And that's 5-0.
Next, we have SBDM allocations for FY24, and my recommendation is for that to be approved as presented.
Any questions, board members?
Our allocation's the same as last year's, right? We just lost money from student population, basically.
Yeah, essentially, yes. So our allocation, this is the allocation that the board allocates to each school's SBDM based upon student enrollment, and so that amount has stayed the same. We've not changed that amount.
Just the total.
Approximately $140 per student.
Thank you.
Motion to approve, made by Mr. Dodson, seconded by Ms. Clem. All those in favor? And that's 5-0.
And next up is school capacity. That my recommendation is for that to be approved as presented. Quick note that goes back to what Mr. Williams presented on earlier this evening.
Questions, board members? Motion to approve, made by Mrs. Shepherd, seconded by Mrs. Clem. All those in favor? And that's 5-0. Sir?
Next are information items for the board to take under consideration.
Okay. And you have a...
Yes, recommend to adjourn.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Made by Mr. Dodson, seconded by Mrs. Sheffer. All those in favor?